Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got the Alaskan Avenger's sister, Angelina.
Yeah.
How are you?
Angelina. I am doing well. Just a little bit stressed trying to get Jason out on early release. So
It's been a monumental task trying to do all this, right?
yeah, he's been in 10 years. So he was arrested in July of 2016. It's just been we've been trying every angle, and it seems like we get denied. And then finally, we have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Basically, a law changed to where they consider his discretionary parole date for them to apply for early release. And so we got lucky there. And so we did it, and we've got the override approved. And now we're just waiting for them to come do the home visit. And then after that, he should be out with an ankle monitor could be as early as 48 hours after that home visit. So
that's awesome. A long time Congratulations to him.
Appreciate
it's been a long road, right?
It. Yes, it has.
So we're going to get into your story. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Casper, Wyoming. I moved to the Dallas Metroplex whenever I was 16, finished out high school here. And I've been here in the Dallas Metro since then. So that was in 2001 whenever I moved here. So
how did you find out? Because you didn't know that he was your brother.
No, I didn't. Well, so I'll try to keep this short. But basically, we have the same father. Our father married their mother. They were like missionaries and super into the church stuff. Had my two brothers. Our oldest brother is Joel. And there's Jason. That didn't work out. Dad cheated on mom, left. He's actually still married to the same woman that he left with to this day. But at some point down the line, Jason and I are 10 years apart. He cheated on her with my mother, had me, and never stayed around to see me born. But my family knew who our father was, and knew that I had two half brothers out there. And so I had searched for my brothers off and on once the internet became a thing, off and on for like 16 years. And I could only find our dad and who I thought was their mom, because I had no idea what had happened. And eventually in 2017, I saw an ad for Ancestry.com come across my Facebook page, and it said free 30-day trial. And I was like, oh, I bet you I could find my brothers in 30 days. So I ended up finding him within 3 days. And I found him in prison. He had not been sentenced yet. And that was, again, it was November 2017. And I was crushed. To hear everything that happened to them. I thought I had the end of the stick. My mom passed away when I was 6. I was kind of passed around from family member to family member. I didn't have a mom or a dad. And I was over here thinking the whole time that I was growing up that my brothers had this mom and dad and this happy family. And I just wanted to meet them. I just wanted to see if they looked like me. I just wanted to let them know that I existed. And, again, I thought I had the end of the stick growing up. And when I found the story of what my brothers went through, I was shook. I really was. He was waiting to be sentenced. He had been on the news quite a bit. And so I didn't want to write him while he was waiting to be sentenced. I did it for a couple reasons. I didn't want to distract him from what he was going through and, getting preparing for sentencing and everything. I also didn't want him to think I was some fangirl who's claiming to be his sister, because he was on the news quite a bit and kind of, was all over the media. I would check every once in a while. I had this website where I could check on his case. And one of our mutual cousins reached out to ask for his address. And when I went to research and find the address for him so she could write him, I found out that he was sentenced to 23 years in prison for assaulting. It was assault. I think they gave him a plea deal, 23 years. And I stayed up the whole night crying. I crashed my car the next morning, literally backed into my husband's car that was parked next to me, that's been parked there for years. Like, I was a mess. And so I finally sat down and wrote him a 9-page letter, sent a stack of like 150 pictures. He called me as soon as he got it, and we were best friends ever since. So he calls me every day. And that was back in April of 2018.
When you're researching him and you find out that he's going to trial for all this. What are your thoughts? Like,
Well, he didn't go to trial. Again, he took a plea deal, but
he was going to
but
court
that he
for all
was
this.
after finding out. So both brothers, we have Joel and Jason. Joel went off to be successful. He's a very damaged individual. He doesn't like when he found out that I existed, he didn't want to meet me. Like he and Jason don't talk. He's a damaged, but he's very successful. Like he lives in California, making a lot of money. But then Jason went the opposite road. Like he went down the road of crime. And
Yeah,
there's a
for the
long
people that don't know, do you want to explain his story?
Yes. So basically after our father left Joel and Jason and their mother, he basically never turned back. Their mother they were in and out of the church 3 or 4 times a week. She quickly found somebody in the church and remarried named Larry Lee Fulton. And they ended up having 2 additional kids together. So they've got 2 half siblings. However, Larry, their stepdad, he had started beating them when they were younger. Just my 2 brothers, not his own kids, not his own biological 2 kids, but my 2 brothers, Joel and Jason. He started beating them. And then he started actually going into they shared a bedroom, had bunk beds. He started going into their bedrooms at night for late night prayer sessions and began molesting my 2 brothers. And this went on for a little over a year. Joel was 17 at the time. Jason was, it started when Joel was 16 and Jason was 12. And then at 17 and 13, Joel ran away from home, stole mom's vehicle, ran away from home. And Jason was so hurt because he left him behind and left him in the house with that man. So Joel ended up getting caught a couple of weeks later, getting taken in, and Joel spilled the guts about everything. He was like, this is what's going on. I'm not going back to this house. So they started a case on this man and about this.
Alaska, right? All this.
Yes, this is in Anchorage, Alaska. Yeah. So they started an investigation. The church was heavily involved with the family. They started questioning Jason, and keep in mind, Jason's 13 at the time. And he still lives with Sandy. Sandy Fulton is their mother. So he still lives with Larry and Sandy at this point. Joel is now in the custody of the state at this point. And so they start bringing in Jason for questioning. You know, mom and dad and church have already been in Jason's ear, and he has to go home to this every single night, you know? And so he's terrified at 13. So as they're questioning him, he's not giving full truth. He's only giving partial of the truth. That caused some animosity between he and Joel because it was making Joel kind of look like a liar. But he was 13 years old. He was terrified. He still had to go home to this man who would beat him with 2x4s every single night. They go to court. Larry gets convicted of, I think it's 2nd-degree child abuse. And it was for beating and molesting them. He admitted to molesting them. He said that he was just trying to make sure that their worked, basically, is what he said. The church, during all of this, Jason says, I remember Sandy and Larry and myself having to go to the church to meet with the elders, and them telling me, when they talk to you and when they start asking you questions, make sure you tell them that you never, this is the kind of that they were telling him. But yeah, so these are the kinds of things that he was going through. And so Larry was convicted. He was sentenced to 3 years suspended. So he was on probation for 3 years. Sandy, the mother, found out, knew about it, stood by Larry's side the whole time. In fact, she stayed with him until the day that he died in 2016. So supported him through the whole thing, went to church. They said, dust it under the rug. You need to forgive him and move on, blah, blah, blah. So Jason was sent back into the home with Larry and Sandy after he was convicted of beating and molesting them.
What?
At 13 years of age. So he went into that courtroom that Larry was being sentenced in, had to speak out against him, and then ride in the same vehicle from that courtroom home with these people. And they never did a home check. They never went back to check, do a welfare check, nothing. They never did anything. Joel was 17, about to be 18 at the time. So they put him in foster care until he turned 18, because what was told is that Joel got the worst of it and Jason didn't really get too much of it, kind of thing. Because again, Jason was terrified to actually tell the full truth because he had to live with these people.
Yeah.
So he went back home and had to live with them. I asked him, I was like, so did the stop? He said, yes, but the beatings did not. Like, he had a custom made 2-handled wooden paddle that he would beat to the point that he couldn't even sit down. Like, he was black from his back to the back of his knees.
And the mom's not doing anything. She's letting this go on.
Yes. And so after his conviction, they lived in Anchorage at the time. They packed up and immediately moved to Wasilla into the valley to a smaller place where he knew nobody. They started homeschooling him. They started, they went to where another faction of their church was. Jason lived with these people for the next 3 years, and he would, since he was homeschooled, he would knock out all of his entire year of homeschool in a couple of months, and then he would go out and he would get a job, being on fishing boats, doing hunting trips, and preparing meats, and just be as far away from the home as possible.